Hey everybody, Dan here with Pain Free You. Today I wanted to talk about a subject that I don't want it to come across as offensive, and I'm worried that it may a little bit, so it's a little touchy subject. But the question is this: has your diagnosis become your identity? So if you're offended by this, hear me out. But it's a really important message if you'd like to get better. So, it's another absolutely stunning fall day. It's in the 60s, I think. Nice little breeze. You can hear it in the trees, in the leaves. The leaves haven't started falling yet. So, gorgeous day. Breathe in the clarity that you're okay. Exhale the doubt. Breathe in the peace and exhale the noise and the chaos. All right. So relax your body, breathe comfortably. Receive this message. It's really important. So, for many years, I was the back pain guy. At work, I was the back pain guy. At home, I was the back pain guy. In the neighborhood, I was the back pain guy. In my family, I was the back pain guy. I couldn't walk into a place and see people I hadn't seen in a little while without somebody going, "How's your back pain? How's your back pain? How's your back pain?" It became who I was. And even in my own head, I was identifying as the guy with back pain. And in hindsight, it was never beneficial. It was never helpful for me. I didn't know I was doing it. I didn't know it was negative. I didn't know it was possibly delaying recovery or keeping me in that perception that I was broken. I'm sure it was as I look backwards. But I kind of became that identity of the guy with back pain. And so, what I want you to do is evaluate how you're showing up in the world, how the people around you are viewing you. And I've had people say, "Oh yeah, I'm the sick one. I've been the sick one forever." And it's great because I get to see people in my group coaching that used to be the sick one that are now regaining their life. They're going out, they're going to social events, family events, parties, and people from their life that's known them as the sick one look at them and go, "Holy cow, you're doing fantastic." And they're shedding that identity of being the sick one, right? And so, medical labels are just that. They're a medical label for what the doctor surmises is going on. But in many cases, those diagnoses are not even accurate. And if you look at the camera or look at the screen here and go, "But mine is, I'm broken," it's going to be really tough to teach your brain to turn it off. So it's really simple. We have to understand what creates symptoms. Now, the vast majority of chronic pain or chronic symptoms, it's not what the doctors say is wrong with your body. It's that the brain is perceiving danger. And that perceived danger turns on the alarm system. And in most cases with chronic pain or symptoms, it's a false alarm, right? It's a mistake by the brain perceiving danger where it really doesn't exist, right? So it's really important to understand the cause. Because would you want to go around identifying yourself as your diagnosis when in fact, for a big majority of chronic pain and chronic symptom cases, the diagnosis is wrong. And so you're maybe falsely identifying yourself through no fault of your own because you've been told what's wrong with you by experts, doctors, websites, support groups online. But what if the diagnosis is wrong? Do you want to persist on, identifying as that diagnosis? That's why one of the key messages I've got for you and everybody else is stop talking about your symptoms. Stop using medical labels. Why? Because we're trying to teach the brain that we're actually okay. And if you're the one who's going, "But I'm not okay," well, go back and do the assessments that I talk about all the time. Go to painfreeyou.com/start. There's a pain test link. Take the pain test. There's also an FIT assessment on the body of that start page. Ask and answer those questions. If you answer more than one of them with a yes, then whatever you've been told is the diagnosis is incorrect, unless you've been told you've got TMS or perceived danger pain, in which case that's accurate. But you have to do the assessment to see how your symptoms are behaving to know whether or not that diagnosis is even relevant to you. Now look, you may say, but I've seen my MRI, or I've seen the tests, the doctor told me this, or I have this pain here, it feels structural. But if the symptoms are behaving like TMS, perceived danger pain, then that's what they are. The diagnosis is irrelevant, because many diagnoses are incorrect. It's a misdiagnosis. So, has your diagnosis become your identity? And the reason I bring this up is I have seen plenty of people throughout this journey interacting with tens of thousands of people over the years. Been coaching for about 7.5 years. Been doing my daily videos for 4.5 years. Interacting with, tens of thousands of comments over those years. And I see a lot of the people's language that they use. And they say, I've got this, or I'm this, or that's my diagnosis. I've got a bulging herniated disc. I've got certain neuralgias, whether it be trigeminal or pudendal. I've got, pelvic floor dysfunction. And in some cases, people actually create a handle or a profile name, perhaps on Instagram or somewhere else, that has that diagnosis in the name. Pudendal Paula, just as a ridiculous example. Diagnosis warrior, fibromyalgia fanatic, right? And if that is you, I'm not judging or criticizing. And I know some people might say, but I want to be seen and heard as having this awful thing so that people recognize what I'm going through. And I get it. I understand that, because most of our symptoms and our diagnoses, they're invisible to the outside world. And we want people to understand what's going on with us. But what if you've actually got perceived danger pain or symptoms and the diagnosis is not relevant? Do you really want to identify with that? Now, the other reason it becomes really important to break your identity and possibly consider renaming your profile on the websites is to disconnect yourself from a body problem. You see, perceived danger pain means your brain is creating the symptoms based on the perception of a body problem, not the reality. So do you really want to identify yourself as Diagnosis Sally, or whatever your name may be, and whatever your diagnosis may be? Because all that does is say, I'm broken, I'm broken, I'm broken. And people will look at you and call you by that name, and they're calling you broken, broken, broken. And again, really dancing around the sensitivities here, but do you want to be identified as somebody with a sickness, body that's damaged? Do you want to identify as somebody who's broken? Because it's going to be really tough to teach your brain to turn it off. Even if it's an incorrect diagnosis, as long as you're identifying yourself as that and talking about it and, basically screaming it from the rooftop, look at my name. I'm one of these people that's got this problem. It's going to be really hard to convince your brain that that's not the truth. So it will delay recovery, maybe even prevent it, to keep on identifying with the diagnosis. But if you don't want to let go of the diagnosis, stop talking about it. Stop broadcasting it. That's not beneficial for you. Yeah, it may get you more understanding. You may get seen by other people in the community. But that identity keeps you more stuck than it does provide a solution for you. The only case where I see that it might be beneficial is if you're through your recovery journey and now you're kind of positioning yourself to coach and help other people through the journey you've gone through. It's the only case where perhaps keeping that identity might be valuable. But I'm not even convinced of that, right? Offer the solution, not announce the problem. Because I don't even know that that helps the other people that you may want to help in the future. So again, zero judgment here. Zero, criticism at all. I understand it. Hey, I was a back pain guy for over a decade. Everybody knew me as a back pain guy, and that became who I was. And I will tell you, definitely was not part of the solution. Definitely slowed down recovery. Maybe even delayed it until I asked everybody around me, stop asking me about it, stop talking about it, I'm fine, right? I had to say that and make that decision long before the brain accepted that I was fine. But I had to disengage from that identity. I had to disengage from talking about it. Because I wanted to teach my brain that these symptoms that I had, this back pain, this sciatica, sometimes mild, sometimes wild, I had to disengage from the belief that that was a physical problem I had. I had to teach my brain that it was actually safe. So I guess a good question to ask yourself is being seen and understood worth potentially slowing down or possibly even preventing recovery? Now maybe if you can separate it for sure and go, that's just a handle on the website. But I know with certainty my body's okay. Maybe if you can get that level of clarity and division between some website handle and what's going on, maybe you can keep it. But I'm going to really recommend that you think seriously whether or not that's who you want to be identified as. And this may be offensive to some, but do you want sympathy or do you want to get well? Because by hanging on to that label and feeling part of a community or being seen and heard, you're basically saying, I want to be a part of that broken community. I don't think that's beneficial whatsoever. So please, no judgment, no criticism, just purely a suggestion based on what I've observed over many years and interaction with countless people, that the longer you hold on to the identity that says I'm broken and use the medical label for the diagnosis you've been given, the longer it takes to recover. The people who discard the medical label and diagnosis early and stay consistent with that are the ones I see getting better, easier, and quicker. So I hope this makes sense, and if you took offense, please don't. This was 100% a message of care and love and support and encouragement, not judgment or criticism. Just really trying to encourage you to maybe make some tweaks that will help you get better sooner instead of later. So, from my heart, I love you. I care about you, and that's why I was willing to make this video that I wasn't sure if I should make, because I don't want to insult people. But I truly do care, and I truly want you better. And I think dropping the diagnosis, and especially if that's your identity online or at home in the family, everything else, let's lose the identity. You're the person who's getting better, who's found the solution. And now you're your own safety coach. Watch yesterday's video if you don't know what I'm talking about. You can coach your way out of it. But calling yourself broken is not part of that. So, love you, and we'll see you tomorrow. Take care, everybody.